I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered. And if you've been following me already, you'll already know that this is a really cool platform where we get to share some cool insights or important insights and action steps that you can take for yourself when it comes to your health. Because here's the challenge that we all face. And I don't know you personally, but I do know that some of the problems that most people are facing. And that is this: you have a certain health condition, or you're worried about a certain health condition, and all that content out there, it's confusing. And the part of the problem is that there is no good relationship or good connection between content and context. And so what are we going to do about that? So when there's so many podcasts out there and they're all espousing their different products, or espousing themselves, it is, again, hard to filter out what it is that you need. And so what we're doing here is we're sharing with you the process by which you can make better decisions for yourself. Because when you've got that process, then you're going to be able to use that critical thinking, head of yours, your brain of yours, so that you can make better decisions for yourself. Because here's the truth: there's a lot of great stuff out there. There's a lot of great doctors out there. You're meeting two of them today, and this will help you understand how to move forward. So how do we actually do that? It's through role playing. And what we're going to do today is one of my guests, Rowena or Morgan, will begin with a specific problem. And then Morgan, in this particular case, because Rowena will present with the problem, is going to guide her to some sort of resolution so you can see the process by which that happens. And we're going to do that for about 6 minutes, after which for about 10 minutes, we're going to unpack so that you can get some very specific insights and action steps that you can move forward. So we don't leave you hanging with questions like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do next? And if you really like them, and you will, because they're amazing people, you're going to want to connect with them as well. So we're going to start off with some introductions first. Then what roles are they going to play? We're going to go into the role playing, and then finally unpacking all of that. So I'm going to start with Rowena. I met her at the biohacking conference with Dave Asprey. Introduce yourself. Who are you? And who do you work with? Or what company do you have? And then we'll go with Morgan.
Okay, I'm Rowena Gates, and my partner Hans Eng and I have a company called Eng3, and it's a medical device company. So the product we sell is NanoV. That's sort of the basis for me. My background, I'm exposed to everything because of the product we sell. However, I have a PhD, but I'm not a medical doctor like the two of you. So just be warned.
Well, just be warned that according to my dad, who is Dutch, that the real doctors are the ones that have the PhD. Us doctors, MDs, we're just different. We're just MDs, actually. So thank you for that, Rowena. You got a great product. We'll talk a little bit about that later on, because it definitely has health optimization opportunities for anyone. So Morgan, share with us who you are, and then we'll go into the role playing.
Thanks, Bart. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm a physician. My background was in chemistry. I took a residency in family practice, and I've been in functional integrative medicine since residency. I've never practiced mainstream medicine ever because I found it lacking in so many ways. I've specialized in everything from bioidentical hormones to GI treatments. And now a lot of my work is with peptides, with senolytics, with rapamycin. Do a lot of work with longevity. That's my passion. I've treated everybody from fibromyalgia to long COVID to mold syndromes and such. And I personally, pretty much everything I've learned and treat patients with is something I've been through myself, or a close family member's been through, and I've learned that way. So I've learned like through the wounded healer method. And I've learned quite a lot. So got a lot of tools under my belt. Right now, I practice as mostly as concierge physician. I do offer consultations as well to people who can't fit in my concierge practice or just need a little guidance. And I'm also coming out with a podcast soon. So I really love what you're doing with helping create context in the processing of how we can help people think through problems versus everybody needs one product, everybody needs this, there's just too much of that now. So I really applaud what you're doing, Bart. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I really appreciate that. And then we'll get a lot more information about you towards the end, and how do people reach you, because obviously what you have to offer is really important. So, Rowena, what role are you going to play? And then I will discover what role Morgan is going to play, and then we'll just jump in for about 6 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to play the role of the person seeking improvement and assistance from Morgan.
And I think specifically something to do with brain fog, right?
Right, brain performance, brain fog, all of that side of it.
It's something I think all of us can use. And then obviously, Dr. Morgan, he's going to be the guide. Are you going to be yourself, or are you going to be someone else?
I'll be
I'll be me.
Huh?
I'll be me.
You'll be me. Okay, great. All right, so let's start. We got 6 minutes. Rowena, go ahead. Go for it.
Okay, so I think I'm rather like about at least a third of the country where people are paying attention to their brains, their brain health and brain performance. I'm fortunate that I don't currently have any issues, but I'm faced every day with people who come to us because they've got brain fog, lack of brain endurance, all these factors, and some people with no clarity at all because of my work. They come across that. So it's really a double-sided question. Like me, like everybody else, we want our brains to stay performing well for a very long time. And then
I know you're a brilliant woman. And so for the audience, by the way, this is not necessarily a reflection of Rowena, but what I'd like you to do, Rowena, is kind of play the part of some of those people that you've mentioned and talk with Morgan as to, what's happening with you and what are the challenges, what are the symptoms, and then I'm going to have Morgan kind of help figure out what to do next. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's great. And to me, it's sort of this spectrum, and at the low end of the spectrum, people are really suffering. And so they'll often have low energy and also really severe brain fog. And that's okay temporarily. Most people are like, yeah, I'll get through this. But some of it just becomes enduring, and they keep in that state and they don't notice that they're getting any better. And those people are really unnerved by it. It's very concerning when they don't see that they're making any progress. And so we come across those people very often. So what's your thought? What would you say?
Yeah, I would. I hear this all the time. Very common. So persistent brain fog, the way I first look at it is, first of all, I use my intuition a lot. So the differential diagnosis, meaning all the possibilities for this, are a very long list. So the way I think of it is, okay, first, hormones potentially. How's your thyroid? I see you're thin. I see you. So I would ask you, have you had any weight gain recently? Has your body temperature changed? Is it colder or hotter than it used to be?
How would you answer that?
Those things haven't changed lately. I've been like the same weight for 40 years or something. And I don't know about my body temperature, though. I don't take it regularly, but I don't notice a difference.
So your perception of your temperature exactly hasn't changed, right? Okay. So after that, I would say, do you notice changes potentially after eating? Is it worse, say, after eating breakfast, after eating lunch, after eating dinner? Is that a worse time than others?
Not after eating.
Okay, perfect. Next, I would say, do you ever notice differences if you leave your house for an extended period of time? Say you go on vacation, do you notice changes? Or you leave your office for a few days to a week, do you notice changes at all?
I don't. I notice that I feel like when I get back, I feel better because of I'm always traveling for business and stuff. So.
Okay, exactly. So that's a good sign. Yeah, you feel better when you get back. Okay, all right. The other thing I like to look at is, does it change with how you're standing or sitting? Sometimes people will get a little more foggy when they're standing and walking. Sometimes they get more clarity when they're sitting or lying down. Have you ever noticed a difference there at all?
I don't notice that. Usually when I'm lying down, I'm sleeping. So there's clearly, no. So no, I'm not very,
Okay, perfect. Yeah, then I go through, have you had any tick bites in the last few years? Have you ever had any in your life at all? Any tick bites?
I don't believe I have, but I could easily have had them and not known it.
Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. What makes your have you noticed a change up and down in your symptoms? What makes your brain fog better? Where do you, when and how, what makes you have more clarity is what I'm asking.
I'm very much more clear in the mornings.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay.
And I'm okay in the afternoon, but the evenings, yeah, reading is difficult.
How is it for you to fall asleep in the evenings?
I fall asleep quickly, and typically I stay asleep.
Beautiful. And you, so of course you feel refreshed in the morning, as you said. Okay, beautiful. And are there any activities, devices, vitamins, treatments, anything that helps with your clarity, your mental focus, concentration?
I use brain tap sometimes, and I think that actually does help me.
Okay.
But that's about it. Then breath work,
Okay.
meditation. But I think the really big one lately, I think, is the breath work. Like, I'm impressed.
Okay,
It's pretty
beautiful.
inexpensive too.
Absolutely right. Price everybody can afford. Before your symptoms started, did you have any noticeable infections or traumatic experiences or any changes in your life or lifestyle?
I did not.
Okay, okay, beautiful.
So we have about 1 minute left, guys.
Okay, beautiful. What else? Have you the other thing I would look for is go through you know, looking at some maybe vitamin deficiency. So I'd look at some labs. What other questions would I ask? So I've looked for environmental exposures, infections, toxins, food allergies, yeah, in brain waves. When you're having brain fog, you know, maybe this is a good thing to ask you a little bit. Is it related to memory? Is it related to focus? Is it related to concentration? That word means so much to so many people. And for some people, it just means they can't remember a name. And for other people, it's just like you're looking through like like you got like an aquarium over your head filled with glue. You know, I've had that myself. Yeah, can you describe a little more what exactly you're experiencing?
The biggest thing for me would be the endurance, the ongoing endurance, and
Okay.
for focus and concentration.
Okay. Yeah, and that's you know, so your brain requires a lot of energy and of course mitochondrial function. So perhaps, you know, that's an age-related decline in mitochondrial function and energy output that you're noticing, you know, in the brain. So, you know, there's specific treatments for mitochondria, regrowth and renewal that I would look at for you, and also of course your NanoV device is working on that level as well, right? It's helping with mitochondrial output, right, and ROS.
Awesome. Well, awesome. Thank you both. Amazing. So first I'd like to ask Rowena, what was that for you? You know, you know, describe kind of the context of all these patients that you're seeing, and what was it that you're trying to portray with all of that?
Yeah, I think I kind of switched in the middle because I started with me, but then I got further to describing what I typically see
Right.
out there. And those factors, I think that a really common one is people have been sick. So that's the most common one, where I said, no, I haven't been sick. But what I really was describing was people that they've been ill and they just haven't been able to bounce back.
Right. And for you, Morgan, you know, what was going on in your head? You know, what was that for you?
Yeah, this is what I do with all my patients, just go through this, you know, and the role play is harder because I can, you know, I can tune into the person and get an idea of what's happening. But yeah, I basically was tuning into myself and go through all the freaking things that have caused brain fog for me in my life, going through that process. And yeah, if you have any questions about, you know, the different questions I was asking and what what the implications of those are, how I might treat those. Yeah, we could talk about that.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the truth, right? Brain fog, any cognitive changes. I mean, that's such a vast topic, and anything and everything kind of impacts it. So it is a major challenge to address it. And I would imagine many doctors, except for yourself, just don't even try. And because you can easily go down a rabbit hole. And clearly, you shared earlier that you address things like mold. A lot of our colleagues out there are not even aware of the impact that mold has on our systems. And so I love the fact that your approach is so diverse in this field. And so I'd like to have you share, some of your experiences that you've had, and what some people, what the listeners can actually get more insights of. What are some of the things that can really cause this? And then want to hear from Rowena, because she also has a product that will definitely help with this. But let me start off with you, Morgan, just to give more context to people to understand what brain fog is. And part of the challenge, I think, that happens to so many, and it's sort of like the frog in the water that's slowly being heated up. They just don't notice it, and then before it's really too late. And until you start treating people, they don't realize how far down that rabbit hole they went and decline, and they suddenly got this surge of energy because they've come in the right, they've met the right person like yourself, Morgan, or Rowena, to make that all happen. So to you, Morgan, some thoughts, some add-ons to any of what I just shared.
Yeah, thank you, Bart. Yeah, I have dementia in my family. My mother had severe memory loss when she started working with me about 10 years ago. Now I think her memory is better than mine. A good colleague, a good friend of mine, Kat Toops, released a pilot study last year that she could find very few people interested in publishing it, that showed she could reverse early stage cognition changes in dementia using pretty much the process, looking at most of the factors that I'm looking at. I'm familiar with what she's doing. So yeah, way I try to break it down is, you're right. The hard part when you have cognitive decline is you have cognitive decline. So you really need an ally to help you. I've had, when I first got it severely, it was related to neurological Lyme and babesiosis, and that was very unpleasant. And the treatment was very unpleasant too. Then I also had it from mold from office and homes, and that was unpleasant too. The giveaway from mold, it's really, if you leave and you feel a lot better. Now I used to think, oh man, I'm going on vacation, I feel incredible. Then I go back to the office and I was like, wait a second, I like my job, I like my patients, I shouldn't feel this miserable working. After a while I figured that out. So that's how I look at it. Brain fog after eating is often related to leaky gut, leaky brain, mast cell activation, food sensitivities, etc. After infection, brain fog can be post-infectious inflammation. And I see a lot of that with long COVID. I have really good treatments for that. I do a treatment called low-dose immunotherapy that helps a lot with post-infectious inflammation, sort of like a post-infectious autoimmune reaction.
Right.
I use a lot of neurofeedback. I don't use the brain tap. I've been using the Neuroptimal device for a decade, so I really love that one. And I use the NanoV device also personally. And like you said, I didn't realize I had any brain fog till I started using the NanoV. Then like a couple layers of brain fog just disappeared, and a couple extra layers of energy appeared. So I could do more work like podcasts. I'm super excited about that. And I've had quite a few patients with similar experiences with the NanoV and the Neuroptimal. Yeah. Is that
so thank you for that share. And I applaud you too. I mean, it's the typical story of pain to purpose. And I see a lot of that in the entrepreneurial world, bringing to us many types of, technologies because of that, because they found that the medical system wasn't supporting, their needs and coming up with resolution. And I'm glad that you as a doctor now also are coming to the forefront with all these different solutions, because here's the truth, and this may upset a lot of people when I say this, but we no longer have an excuse to be sick. And because the technologies are out there, the resources out there, it's all over the internet. It's just a matter of finding the right people. And I know that's hard, but that's part of what my mission is and my passion is to help people find the right people. So I curate, educate and guide so that people find the right people. And that's why you're also on this platform. So I really appreciate all of that. What I'd like to hear from Rowena, by the way, because this NanoV, just briefly about what that really is all about, and how that actually supports people with brain fog, because I mean, this is one of the various solutions that people can tap into. It's not the only one that I recommend as an aggregate of other treatments at any given time, but it's definitely a major one that people can begin to utilize.
Sure. So the NanoV device is a device where you inhale humid air from the device. The humidity is adjusted in a way that changes the energy state of the water so that when it goes into your system through your mucous membrane by connecting to the water, it's transferred across the water in your body. And it's slightly adjusting the watery environment, which is where all the cellular activity takes place. And it's adjusting it in a way that supports those activities and specifically protein folding. And so basically, kind of to shorten the story, it improves the energy state for the proteins required to fold. And it doesn't override any of the functions of the protein, what it's going to do, which proteins are built, where they go. And just for people who aren't familiar, proteins do everything. Most of your body is proteins, and they do all the work in the body. So you want them to function well. And when they don't function well, they can stick together and form tangles and plaques, which are an issue for brain health. So
yeah, the metaphor that I'm kind of thinking right now, and just kind of put in context, is that, you know, molecules, they have a very specific three-dimensional structure, and depending on the spatial alignment of the different parts of a molecule, it's going to work or not work, or it's going to have a different function. So it's really no different than, you know, you wanting to drive a car, and then versus it being, you know, I don't know what they call them, but these car crunchers where they compact them, where they kind of press on them, and now you still have the same car, but you can't get in it because it's all compressed. And that's the same thing with molecules, if you think about it. And so, that's a brilliant, you know, part, because it's you're not adding. What I like about it, it is most natural way to enhance the functionality of proteins, rather than giving medicines and drugs and doing all sorts of other things. It would appear that this is the most natural way to optimize our proteins, right?
yeah, it's a little boost, and it's system-wide. And so how it influences one person will be completely different from another. And when I first met Morgan, he asked, I think, if it helped with energy. And I'm like, well, try it. You know, because that, you know, I felt confident it would, because of our experience with it and how it works. It logically, if things are working better, including mitochondria. But every individual, that's one thing, is just because it did something for one person, it could be completely different for another.
Precisely. And this is where people go wrong, because they think, you know, it's going to work and it doesn't, and they kind of give up. And that's, again, my passion, is to help people understand that process by which they have to begin to stack things up differently than just, you know, what we're seeing nowadays. But that's a story for another day. So as we wrap it up, I'll start off with you, Rowena. Once again, who are you? What's the company? How do people get a hold of you? And one question I'd like, you know, for the listeners to know is how they actually get access to this technology, whether it's at home or in doctors' offices.
Okay, so let me start with the last part, which is access to the technology is through doctors' offices, centers, performance centers, places like that. And then a lot of the devices live in individual homes. Our goal is to be more helpful to humanity in general. So we really are very keen to get devices into places like gyms or places where they're easily accessible to people. So that's sort of our next phase. Corporate wellness is really interesting for that too, to help the whole company. And from a business perspective, it makes perfect sense, because they have better performance.
There you go.
With their staff. And so that's kind of the access to NanoV. More information is at eng3.com, and it's ENG3 3.com. There's information there, and they're more than welcome to phone in on the site. There's phone numbers and so on. So just reach out to us, and we typically will respond if you fill in a form. With the email, we'll have only study results and things like that. We don't do a whole, marketing campaign. The device is not inexpensive, and so it has to be, a personal decision. We're not going to push it out there.
And here's the most important part for me, and this has been my mission for the last 20 years, even being a plastic and reconstructive surgeon and trained for 17 years, I recognize that the real magic in optimizing health is how do we harness the potential of the body to restore form and function. And this is one of those things that will absolutely do that for you. And it's all in the most natural way possible. So thank you for that, Rowena. Dr. Morgan, again, a little bit more about you. Where can people find you? Because I'm sure a lot of people will want to have your wisdom and magic to help them optimize their health.
Yeah, thanks, Bart. Yeah, again, I'm a physician, a background in chemistry, a long history in functional integrative medicine, with a special focus in longevity and preventing, reversing chronic illness. As you put it earlier, there are no excuses to be sick in our world. I love that. It's all about, like you said, learning to stack what each person needs, and not what each podcaster saying everybody needs, but actually helping like that each person like pinpoint exactly what they need for that problem they have. That's my specialty. That's what I do. I help people achieve that. And I really like working with people who are motivated to make change and really willing to do whatever it takes. I've had to do that. I've literally had to do anything and everything. I've had to close practice. I've had to go off in the wilderness. I've had to go walkabouts. I've had to go in the jungle. I've had to do everything needed to heal. Otherwise, I probably would be under the ground right now. And so I really appreciate meeting people like that who really are committed to their health. And that's the patients I really love working with, no matter what their symptoms are, what they're coming for. My website is just simple, drmorgancamp.com. Super easy to find me there. I do have a welcome call button for anybody that'd like to talk to my staff and talk more about my practice. And I will have a podcast coming out in the next few months. It's going to be longevity camp, so longevity-camp.com, with emphasis on longevity. And I really love what you're doing here, Bart, and we'll try to incorporate some of what you're doing in my podcast too, because again, the process I think is key. So thank you for what you're doing. Really appreciate this.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. I'm glad to share ideas with you, and certainly collaborate in the future in any kind of endeavors, because that's what we need more of. And that's the purpose of the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered, to really help people understand that, it's their responsibility to start making the best decisions for themselves. And the challenge that I think we all have, you included, obviously, is with so much information, what's right, what's working, what's not, right? And so working together, I think we'll be able to decipher a lot of that confusion and a lot of that information, so that we can actually support people in the best possible way. So I want to thank you both, Rowena and Dr. Morgan. Thank you so much for this. And once again, I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered. And we will be back with both Rowena and Morgan when they will switch roles. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.